On this episode of Leaving a Legacy podcast, Jeremy, Blaine, and myself sit down and talk about who Leaving a Legacy is, what it is, and we break down our hunts from this past season. It's a great episode, so don't miss it. Hello and welcome to the Leaving a Legacy podcast. I'm Tyler Deaton.
I'm Jeremy Dunkel.
And I am Blaine Lotz.
And we are
Leaving a Legacy.
Leaving a Legacy, that's right. We've got all three of us here. It's the first time we've been together in a while.
Yeah, I know.
Feels like
ages.
Feels like forever.
Yeah.
Feels like forever. So, but we've got a special episode today. We're all going to break down our hunts for this year and let you guys, the listeners and the viewers, know a little bit about who we are, what we do, how we got started, and where we're going. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to be a ball of fire because we had some good hunts this year, and I'm really pumped to share it with everybody. You know, you always wonder from a conversation standpoint, could I talk to Jeremy Dunkel? Could I talk to Tyler Deaton about his hunt one-on-one? And that's another reason why we wanted to make this podcast a thing, so we could just have one-on-one conversations with the public, say, this is what was going through my mind. This is what's happening. And I know you had a lot of drama going on in your hunt between your glove and your hood and everything like that. But that's what everybody wants to hear, you know, is what was going through your mind at that time. So with me hitting on that, why don't you hop right in and talk about your hunt? Because it was an awesome hunt and just released not that long ago on Leaving Legacy page.
Man, it almost brings back some traumatizing memories, some great memories. It was there's so many things that happen in that tree stand that you think, you know, the deer comes out after two other bucks did. I'm hunting this specific deer. He comes downwind. You know, and you hear me talk about it if you watch the episode. Don't go that way, don't go that way. He goes that way. Stops right in my wind. You see him stick his nose up. You know, you see him working his nose, and I'm thinking, I'm done. And he takes a couple more steps, and I turn around and look around the tree, and all of a sudden I look down, and there he is, 25 yards coming right at my tree. And so then I'm getting nervous. You know, I'm supposed to be, you know, I've been bow hunting for 20 years, and I'm supposed to be calm, and I am shaking like a leaf. Long story short, I get ready to, I get him framed up, and a couple seconds away from pulling my bow back, and my camera battery dies. Jeremy's been filming for 10 years, and this guy has got a camera battery that's almost dead in his camera. So I don't know how in the world I got it done. It was just so windy that was the only reason. I mean, the trees were whipping back and forth, and he was just distracted by everything else going on, I think, is the only reason that happened. And then let me tell you, if you don't practice shooting your bow with your hood on, don't shoot a deer with your hood on, because it was windy and I'm trying to stay out of the elements, and I've got my hoodie over my hood or my head, and then I've got it tight here. So I pull my bow back, and I can't get anchored. I can't get my knuckle right there where I usually anchor. And
we're gonna throw the video over for all of our viewers. If you're listening and not watching, hop over to YouTube, hop over to our Facebook group, because I'm going to throw the video up over this as you're talking about this, because seriously,
I'm at full draw
for not
20 seconds.
Not for like 5 seconds, like
20 or 30 seconds. Yeah. And it feels like an eternity. This deer, I'm at full draw, and he's standing there in a pretty good position, and I'm trying to pull my hood off with my bow at full draw. And in my head, I'm thinking, I'm going to release this on accident at any second. And so I'm making sure my arrow is not pointing at the deer at this time. And that's terrible. One of the biggest deer of my life is standing there, and this is happening. So anyway, I finally get anchored. I release my arrow. It finds its mark. Not the greatest shot in the world. We find the deer the next day. It was frustrating. It was wonderful. There were so many emotions. And initially, I thought the shot was good. I'm excited. Thank you, Lord. And then I go back and I watch the footage, and then it's just that feeling in your gut. You think, oh no.
It went from thank you to please.
No, you're
Right.
exactly right.
And that's another thing too. Most people, they always dream about videoing your hunts, but that is one huge advantage when you film your hunts. You can look right back. I think I made a wonderful shot. Look right back at the camera and say, ooh, maybe that wasn't as good as I thought it was. But there's obviously a lot of other reasons why you would film, but that's just one.
Right, and you're right. If I hadn't have
situation.
watched that footage, I might have looked for that deer 2 hours later or an hour
Right.
later. I truly might have, because I thought it was okay. I thought it got some of the heart probably, and it didn't. So yeah, if I hadn't been able to watch that footage back, I wouldn't have let him sit for 8 hours. And I might have pushed him off and never found him.
Yeah. And that was an awesome buck, a perfect clean 10, huge tall tines. It just came up perfect, just symmetrical.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, his
I'm really
main
glad you
beams.
found that buck.
Yeah, no, I was too, and I was glad that Ben and Buzz, out of southeast Kansas, they the tracking service there, and they found so many deer this year, and they made my day. That's for dang sure.
Well, and I think that right there, just the dog tracking could be an episode in itself.
Right.
Like everybody hopefully never has to make a bad shot.
Right.
But if you hunt long enough, you're going to make a bad shot. So what do? I just took step number 1 and it was the wrong step or a bad step. Now what? And so just the tracking dog itself and, bring Ben in. Well, we would love to have him on. And
Right.
just because sooner or later people are going to be there. If you can already put yourself in that situation before it happens,
Right.
you're going to be a lot more successful. So
I know I've always seen Ben and Buzz's flyer at the arrow shop.
Right.
And it's always, his numbers are always pulled off the piece of paper. I've never taken his number. I always figured I could call Miles and he'd let me know. But he is very famous in the deer tracking world. And now that you have used him, I'm starting to notice more people are using him
Right.
around the area. It's crazy how many people use his service as a tracker.
Yeah, and one thing that I will say is, I called Ben the next morning and I said, "Hey Ben, this is Jeremy. I've had your number on my phone for a couple of years. I finally, not finally needed you, because I've hit deer bad before, but I've just been lucky enough to find them. But if you could come out," and he was gracious enough to do that. But he said, "What happened? Tell me exactly what happened." I said, I hit the deer. This is what happened. I tracked him after about 8 hours, 800 yards. And, he said, "Well, you did all the right things." And this is my, if I can give any advice, if you ever have any inkling that you might have hit a deer in the guts or hit him bad, if it's going to be cold enough, don't ever go after a deer. I mean, it's just, there's no, if it's going to be cold enough, just give them 5 hours, 8 hours, wait till the next morning if you can.
Right.
If you have that opportunity, it won't hurt a thing to let that deer lay there and die, especially if he's gut shot. Because
And your shot
who's
doesn't
done
look
that before?
bad.
Me. This deer wasn't gut shot. I hit him too far forward. But last year I gut shot a deer, and
Right.
I knew it from the moment I released my release. I knew it was bad, and he jumped, mule kicked, went out there 50 yards and stood there, and I watched him walk off, and I knew it was gut shot, and I left, and I didn't come back till the next day, and it was 200 yards, dead. So
Yeah.
I mean, if you will get out of there and let them lay down,
Right.
just don't push them if you have that opportunity. And sometimes you don't. Sometimes you've got to go in and go after them. But if you have the chance, let them lay down and die.
Every successful hunt starts with a detailed game plan, and your finances are no different. Whether it's your taxes, your retirement, or your investments, our friends at Perspective Advisors are here to help you come up with your own detailed game plan. stop by the office today or give them a call.
Well, Jeremy, you had a really, really cool story, and that's exactly why I picked on you first, wanting you to share it, just because it was just a huge roller coaster of emotion and feels and just the drama and the fiasco part of the hunt just all wrapped into one. Am I going to find him? Oh, my gosh, there he is walking. Oh, I made the shot. Great, I got him. Oh, it's not as good as I thought it was. Dang it, Ben, can you show up all the way to the very last end of it? That's why I wanted you to share it off first and lead off here. And that brings me right back into the point of who we are, how we got started, what our purpose is, what we want to do, what we're about. And I think that that's a good time to maybe get into that. I wanted to get all the viewers onto a good story, a good hunt, and then we could pop right into, what we're about. And I know, Tyler, you've been itching to answer this one for a while now because, we walk around up the street. A few people know about Leaving the Legacy now, and they ask you, what's this show? What are you about? And in a lot of ways, it's a really easy answer. So, Tyler, if you want to pop off there, tell us what Leaving a Legacy is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. So we all have a passion to film the hunt and to share the stories, but we want to take a storytelling approach versus just the documentary style. We want to tell the whole story. We don't want to just start right from the tree stand. One of the things when I was editing Jeremy's, he's got footage from burning season, early spring. And I said, let me use that. I want to use it because that's so important. That's part of the hunt. And so we just, like I said, we want to take a storytelling approach. We want to share our experiences and let people know we're not some celebrity hunting personality, obviously. We're just normal guys. We're everyday guys, but we just have this passion to film it and the passion to share our experiences. Maybe you can grow from it. Maybe you can learn from our mistakes. Just like in my episode, I missed. First shot, I missed. Put another round in it and was thankful enough to hit the mark there. I think there's some people that would say, well, I don't want that in there. I don't want people to know that I messed up.
Right.
But if you hunt long enough, you're going to miss. You're going to mess up. You're going to play the wind wrong. You're going to mess up. And I think that that's important to show those things as well.
Right.
So.
And, we talk about meant to be all the time. That day, you two got together to hunt, and you had another blind in mind. You were going to go set in another location across the creek.
Right.
The creek was too high. It was impassable. You could not get across.
Yeah.
So you absolutely had to set at another location. Meant to be. The buck you were after just happened to be on the same side of the creek.
And how far was that? You said it was well over a mile away.
Yeah, it was just over a mile away.
Yeah.
I mean, it was,
so it's not like it was a couple hundred yards.
I run cameras on both of those sets, and I'd never seen that buck up there on that north set. So, I mean,
meant to be right there.
Yeah, meant to be.
And I'm here to tell you may have missed on the first shot, but that follow-up shot was pretty fancy.
Yeah. Well, I just want to put it out there. I asked for permission before, this deer steps out, and we both say, whoa. And I say, I remember I looked through the scope, and we've got the footage. It's kind of the raw footage. But I said, he's a good one. He's a real good one. And Jeremy said, okay. And I said, what do you think?
I was wondering what we were waiting for.
Right.
Hey.
And he said, it's your hunt. So to me, that's green light. And I said, okay, so I'm going to, and then I whiff. But thankfully I was able to get a second shot off. And after that, he didn't run 30, 40 yards. I mean, it was right where it needed to be. So it was a successful hunt, but,
no offense about your hunt, Tyler, but I do want to share my all-time favorite moment in your hunt. Everybody has their certain friend that they like to call that comes over and helps track their deer for you. then some people may have their favorite dog. But in your scenario, what exactly did you have help from to find your deer?
Well, I had a giant black cow. I don't know. What's the technical term? You guys are both
An
cattle
Angus
guys.
bovine.
There you go. Do what? A bottle calf.
She's a 1,000-pound bottle calf.
There you go. There you go. So she was right there every step of the way,
Oh,
and
that
I
clip
threw that
cracked me
in
up.
kind of at the end, just to kind of show like, hey, we're not on some high fence private ranch or anything. Like we're in the cattle pasture.
I threw cake out that morning to keep the cows away from the blind.
Yeah.
Because Sweetie will come up there and stick her head in the blind.
Oh yeah, we've got plenty of footage from that
Absolutely.
from Sierra's
Fogging
hunts,
up the
some of-
windows.
some of Benton's hunts and stuff like that. So that blind was put to good use this year, and but yeah, she was right there to help along the way. But
And I know when you shot that buck out of that blind, you're like, oh my gosh, Sierra, Jeremy's wife, she's going to kill me.
Right.
That's a buck that she wants. And then she just goes up to Kansas and smokes a
yeah,
giant
she said,
down
"Watch
there.
this. Watch what I
watch
can
this.
do."
Yeah. Dust off the old shirt a little bit and
Right.
go up there and make her happen.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I was really asking for permission, not from him. I knew, who was really after that deer, but she was a good sport about it. She said, "I'll forgive you one day." It may not be now, it may not be, but
Hey,
has
I
been a
think you
little
just
bit.
need to just go down there to the Senor Salsa and get you a little chips and salsa and her favorite meal, and I think it'll be all right.
yeah, it'll be all right.
So when she gets cranky, it's just easy. You just go get her some El Pablitos, and life is wonderful.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So
there you
it just
go.
changes the game completely.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about your hunt, Blaine. Yours is, well, I think all of our hunts are unique,
Right.
but yours is unique, and you probably could have killed this deer early October,
Right.
but there was one thing that was holding you back from getting out in the woods, and what was that?
Well, that was camera upgrade.
Right.
So I decided to upgrade cameras this year. I've been using the camera for several years. I've filmed for a long time, similar to Jeremy, like 10 years. And I got a lot of good hunts captured on video, but I wanted to upgrade cameras this year. And with the whole pandemic and the crazy things going on in the world, everything was back ordered. This was a brand new camera release from Sony. And I was just sitting, twiddling my thumbs months and months and months and months. I got all the lenses, I got all the gear, the mics, lapel mics, everything that I needed, except for the camera body. So, Tyler, you came up with a brilliant idea, which I had no idea that you could do such things, but now I do. So we leased a camera. You helped me rent a camera and that would work with those lenses. And I already had this deer on camera. This is the biggest deer I'd ever had on camera in Oklahoma. I hunt one big ranch there at 1,700 acres. And this buck was just the next class bigger than 100% of the bucks that I'd ever seen on that ranch before. And so we got that camera in. I think I picked it up from you on a Friday, if I remember right. Learned how to use it on Saturday morning, getting freshened up on all the settings and of the sort, and then went in and shot that deer that afternoon. And I don't know how in the world it could get any better. Taylor and I walked in. We had to bump a few does on the way in. We climbed way up in this tree, and the deer action just started immediately. And early October, it transitions into that pre-rut kind of mode. They start making scrapes and rubs, and they kind of bump the does a little bit, and they were in that zone. And they were specifically in a scrape zone because I had 2 new scrapes around my tree, and they were just absolutely wearing this scrape out. And I knew that this buck was bedded up on this ridge because my covert cell camera sent me a picture at 9 a.m. that morning, and he had passed through heading up onto that ridge, and that's where they love to bed. And I knew that we had a great shot at maybe getting this deer. And the camera just came in, and it all worked out, and he just come right off the hill, walked right in and shot him at 10 yards broadside, and nicknamed the buck Okie Dokie. And anyway, it was just a phenomenal hunt, and I was really glad that Taylor could be there with me, and I was very, very excited that all came together.
So let me ask you this: which is harder, shooting a new bow or shooting with a new camera right off the bat? Which is easier to get
transitioning to a new bow? If you're shooting something that's just 20 or 30 yards, not a problem. You can get that figured out. But when you got about 48,000 settings on a camera, trying to figure out which light looks good, and every everything that you can possibly think of. I basically just common sensed my way right through the camera.
Right.
Because it was completely a different change. I went from camcorder to mirrorless camera, with lenses and everything that you have, a small lens and a big lens and putting those on. It was just a different ball game. I already had some experience with them, but not just like turn me loose. You're on your own. Nobody's here to help you.
Right. Yeah, one of the things that I thought was really cool as far as the editing standpoint, you covered all your bases with camera angles and stuff like that. You had several different GoPros going. So if there was a camera malfunction or double tap record or something that you couldn't figure out, you've got the kill on camera, the shot on camera in multiple different angles. So that's one of the important things, and that kind of helps tell the story as well. Is there's a whole lot going on. So
absolutely,
you had the deer, you had him right there in front of you.
Yeah, he couldn't have been more than.
But you couldn't draw back on him right away because
there was another little buck to my left, and it was the one that has been hitting that scrape. Never knew I was there, but the moment of truth when I need to be drawn on this deer, I look over the left and he's giving me a big old smile, staring at me over there. And anyway, I just said, heck with it. I'm just going to draw slow, and I drew slow, and he just kind of turned his head and walked off. He didn't really like that I was up in the tree, but that allowed me a lot of time to get the shot on the buck. And okie dokie, we heard him crash. It was just, you could just count just moments after the arrow impact. You heard him just crash up there. Up on the ridge, and he was really easy to find, So I had my best tracker, Taylor's with me. I'm colorblind as all get out. So when it gets to tracking blood, it's got to be awesome blood, or I have a little bit of trouble seeing it. It all kind of looks the same. And boy, I just turned Taylor loose, and she's like, "Oh, there's blood way up there. Oh, can you see it up there on that leaf?" I'm thinking, I don't even know if I can shoot my bow that far. Right. But she could see it, and it was a really good hunt. Definitely one of my favorite hunts for sure, and my biggest Oklahoma whitetail.
No, and the hunt was so cool, but the coolest part is the reaction. You two celebrating, and then obviously you calling your family and celebrating. Don't get me wrong, knocking a big buck down is cool, but
oh yeah,
that part, seeing the celebration was what is what got me.
And, I talk about it in the video, and you even put a portion of it in there. We talk about my mom, and we talk about how we got started. And we all got started into hunting differently. And my mom and dad, neither one of them are hunters. I didn't have an uncle or a grandpa or anybody that was really interested in hunting. And somehow or the other, I got my hands on a hunting DVD, and I watched that. And I was like, man, this is just something that I want to do. And I literally just taught myself how to hunt. Well, then it got to where it was serious enough. I wanted a camera to film it all. And this is back into the, shooting birds with a pellet gun and sticking rabbits with bows and arrows days. This is a long time ago, or maybe it could have been just last week. But anyway, back to what I was saying, that's what kind of brings us all together. So we talk about my mom. She's not a hunter or anything at all whatsoever, but she gets fired up when I show her all them trail camera pictures of the bucks that I'm chasing. So she knew all about Okie Dokie. And she's like, oh my gosh, she was just, she just sits at the house while I'm in the stand and just, just fiddles around and it's just almost like she can't stand it. And then when I called her, you could just hear it in her voice. She's just like, but that's what I love about hunting. That's what I love about filming. And I feel like that is something that Leaving Legacy is all about, that even though she's not a hunter, she supports me 100%. She is so happy for me. And I know that you guys could share some of your stories about how you got started. I know you had some family that like to hunt. Jeremy, you have a ranch up in Kansas, that's family owned, operated, the whole 9 yards. And I know that you have a lot of memories up there, with your family.
Yeah, we just, my granddad and my uncle, they bought a place when I was a young kid. And, I've grown up there, since the time I was, I don't know, they probably bought it when I was 7, probably maybe a year younger than that. And, I recall squirrel hunting and, walking miles bird hunting and sitting on my grandpa's lap. First deer I ever shot, he says, I was sitting on his lap holding 243, and he said, I had to reach up and hold my hat down because you were shaking so bad I thought my hat was going to fall off. It's just stuff like that. And what's so cool is me sitting with my kids, maybe not in those same old wooden tree stands, but we're sitting right next to them or something. You know, we're still using those same trails
Right.
that he set up on 20 years ago. And that's what is so special about that place. I mean, the streams that run through there we fished, and I'll save some of it for a later podcast. But yeah, it's a special place to me. Here it is. It's got a special place in my heart, and I love making that drive from my house up there. And I'm so fortunate that I get to raise my kids up there just like I was.
And you can tell by the way that you're talking about it, you don't know how to describe it in such a fashion of what it means to you. You know, it almost makes you speechless. You're like, oh my God, I don't know what to say about it. It means so much to me, But I know we got a lot of info to pack into more podcasts. You can look forward to some more podcasts with Leaving a Legacy. I know we're going to wrap this one up right here. We really appreciate everybody tuning in and checking us out, see what we're all about and stuff. And Tyler, I'll turn it back over to you, and
yeah, absolutely. So
we can conclude.
One of our great partners, and I know that we all use Scent Thief. I mean, we're all believers in Scent Thief. We've partnered up with them, and they told us that they were going to send us some product to give to our listeners, our viewers. And so we have a Scent Thief question of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And the first question for the podcast is, do we need a drum roll or anything?
Well, I can sure give you one.
No, it's fine. It came from Steve Wareheim, and he wants to know, and this is a great question.
No.
Where do you get your music for your episodes? And I'll let Jeremy answer this.
Well, you get it from a cassette tape, right? You just pop it in the cassette player.
Right.
Yeah, that's not where I thought he was going with that.
No. No, so I'll give you guys the answer, since I'm kind of the man behind the screen as far as the editing goes. So there are different websites out there that you can either purchase a song individually, or you can have like a monthly subscription and things like that. And so a lot of our music comes from, there's a site called MusicBed. There's one called Soundstripe. There's another one called Artlist. And believe it or not, I don't even listen to regular radio anymore. That's all I listen to. Well, I just play songs, and I think, okay, I'll go in and make them my favorites, and I've got a playlist of songs that I think I'll be able to use. But once you get into the editing, and this goes for our episodes, it goes for my wedding highlight films and stuff like that as well. You think, oh, this is the song. This is it. This is going to be the one. And then you start editing, and you're like, nope. So, and then it's back to square one. But that, I think, is another reason why I just love what we're doing. Is we're not just taking songs off the radio that you hear, or songs that don't really match the emotion. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's always, like, for Jeremy's example on his episode, there was a lot of drama going into that shot.
Mm-hmm.
There was so many things that could go wrong and didn't, but there was build up to it, and then kind of a relief of, hey, I got it done.
Right.
And then it goes back to, well, I just watched the footage. Maybe I didn't get it done. And so I take a lot of pride in the editing process, and that includes the music. I think it's just another layer. And I think that's what makes our episodes so great, is we're adding these layers in. Like I said, we're starting off from step number one. We're not starting off from the tree. Hey everybody, I'm Tyler Deaton, and I'm in the tree stand now, and I'm going to shoot this big deer, and I hope you guys watch it.
Right.
There's just so much more that goes into it. And so, Steve, we appreciate the question. It was a great question. It's kind of a unique question. I figured we'd have one, kind of hunting related. But there were a lot of questions out there, but we just wanted to pick that one because it was kind of unique. It kind of threw us off, like,
Right.
oh, wow. So, but if you guys, anybody out there listening or watching that want to get into editing, whether it's, well, what software do you use or what websites do you use to get to, your music, feel free to reach out to me. I want to grow this community. That's the one thing that we've all kind of talked about.
Correct. Yep.
Is we want everyone to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
We want the hunting community to continue to grow and continue to get better. And if we can do that on our episodes, if each one of our episodes can get better and better and better, we hope that the hunting community can get better and better and better as well. So, but Steve, we've got a bottle of Scent Thief for you right here, showing it on camera. Like I said, if you're just listening, you're missing out on a lot of this.
Yeah.
We've got 1, 2, 3. We've got 5 cameras. This is how you know when you're a deer hunter. You've got 5
Blaine didn't
cameras
even
rolling
bring
around.
his.
Yeah, that's
And
the thing is
yeah.
I didn't bring any.
Right,
I just brought myself. I said I won't forget myself. That's all I'll remember.
Right. Well, you had a little bit longer of a drive than 5 minutes for me or 10 minutes for Jeremy. But
Hey, I can tell you one thing about Scent Thief, though. If there's ever a question of the day that allows you to potentially win a free bottle of Scent Thief, I would be asking a million
Yeah, no
questions.
kidding. I almost
Because
asked it.
that stuff is
it's liquid
for
gold.
lack of a better term, it's the meat and taters of a deer hunt.
Yes. Yeah. It saved Jeremy's hunt for sure.
Yep.
I'm serious. Sometimes if I've left the house, I really did. Benton and I left the house the other day, got about 15 minutes away, and I called Sierra. I said, my Scent Thief is sitting, I had 2 bottles hanging in the living room. I said, I got to come back and get it. I said, will you set it out for me?
Yeah.
I won't go to the woods without it.
Hey,
And that's the honest truth.
If you don't walk to the woods smelling like a big bottle of Scent Thief, you're really missing what
Yeah.
you're about to see.
And that's what's so crazy. The first time you smell it, you think,
What the world?
what do you mean this is going to make me more successful? Because it has a smell.
Right.
It's not, there's a dime a dozen scent elimination stuff
Right,
out
that
there.
smell like dirt
Right.
or cedar or something.
Right. Yeah. You
This
can
is
smell
doing
like
something completely different.
you can smell like anything you want to, but this stuff right here, and I've asked several different people, what's it smell like to you? And they say, well, I smell this.
Right.
Well, I smell that. Well, I smell, and so it's a unique smell. It's one of a kind. If you haven't used it yet, go get a bottle if you can, or try to win it on this podcast. I know Miles up at the Arrow Shop carries it. It's amazing. It will help you be a more successful hunter when it comes to the wind, because let's be honest, if you're like us, you can't just go hunting whenever you want, whenever the wind is right. Sometimes you have to say, well, the wind's not perfect, but this is the day I can go. This is the day I'm off work. So I've got to make it work. I've got to go today. So grab a bottle of Scent Thief. You won't regret it.
Yeah, and if you run out of cologne for your first date, just squirt a little bit of that on, and I guarantee you'll have a second date.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
Maybe.
All right. We're going to wrap up now. We want to thank Prospective Advisors for allowing this podcast to happen. They've partnered with us. They do taxes. They do retirement plans. They do all these different things with your finances. That's one of the things that we don't have to worry about. I turn all my taxes in to them, and then I can go turkey hunting. I don't have to worry about, well, did I get this? Did I get that? They take care of everything in the spring for me. So, but we appreciate them. We appreciate Miles and Kelly at the Arrow Shop. They partnered with us like 2 minutes after we said, hey, this is who we are. This is what we're doing. And Miles has been such a big asset to us.
Absolutely. Even before leaving a legacy was a thing, we all 3 were just homebodies to the shop.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just evident. And that's the thing. We don't call them sponsors. They're not sponsors. They're our friends.
Right.
They're our partners.
Right.
We're a team with them. And I think that's what makes it a little bit more real. It's not like, hey, I need this, I need that.
Right.
It's a friendship.
Yeah. I just love going to the shop, and you just hang out. I mean, it's, people come in and, hey, how's it going and stuff like that. And, Miles is never like, well, do you guys need anything? Like, are you going to spend money today?
Hey, I'm here to tell you, though, as many times as we communicate throughout the week, I think you guys are there about 8 days a week. Both of you.
You're not supposed to tell that. We will talk to you all later.
Over and out.